In 1944, the state of Nevada killed a child. Not in war, not by accident, not in secret, but legally, publicly, methodically. His name was Floyd Burton Loveless. He was 17 years old. And by the time the gas filled the chamber, nearly everyone involved had already decided something far more dangerous than guilt. They had decided he was finished. The story doesn't begin in Nevada. It begins in Lafayette, Indiana, during the summer of 1942. For 6 weeks, the city unraveled. Cars were broken into. Night after night, vehicles disappeared. Homes were entered while people slept inside them. 50 crimes, no pattern anyone could stop. And then the violence crossed a line. At 2:30 in the morning, Mary Soller, 72 years old, woke up to the lights turning on in her home. Before she could speak, a glass bottle struck her head. She handed over her money. 2 $20 bills. The intruder vanished. 10 days later, another home. Another woman, another masked figure. This time there was a gun, a beating, and hours of silence before help came. Lafayette was no longer just afraid. It was cornered. Floyd was sent to the Indiana Boys School. It was called a school, but it functioned like a cage. Fights, abuse, fear. 30 days later, Floyd escaped. With another 15-year-old, they stole a car and ran west. And somewhere along the way, Floyd found a gun. August 20th, 1942, near Elko, Nevada. A stolen truck, a familiar vehicle. Constable Adolph Burning stepped forward. 26 years on the job, plain clothes, no backup. He opened the door, and within seconds, the world narrowed to metal, panic, and noise. 2 shots. Burning fell, paralyzed, dying. Floyd drove away. Floyd was arrested, he confessed, then withdrew it. Nevada charged him as an adult. The trial was fast, the verdict faster, death. Newspapers lied about his age. They called him 16 because 16 sounded older, more acceptable, less like what he really was. A child. On death row, Floyd changed. He read, he prayed, he played softball. He stopped fighting. Appeals failed. The governor refused. The pardon board said no. The state was finished thinking. Floyd's last request was not for mercy. It was for roses, for his grandmother. At 6:24 p.m., he walked 13 steps. No final words were recorded. At 6:27, the process began. At 6:29, it was over. The state wrote the ending. A man died because of Floyd Loveless. That truth matters. But so does this one. Nevada executed a teenager. And once a system decides a child is beyond saving, there is no pause button. Only procedure, only silence. On April 21st, 1943, the Nevada State Supreme Court ordered the verdict set aside and Floyd Loveless to receive a new trial. Returning to Elko County District Court, his second trial began on November 15, 1943. And like the first one, it was over on the third day. This time the language was clear. Guilty of murder in the first degree. Loveless, now 17, was again sentenced to die in the Nevada gas chamber. But a second trial also gave him the right to an appeal, which his defense filed on February 29, 1944. As he waited, Floyd Loveless lost his bitterness. He kept time for prison boxing matches, read books, wrote letters, embraced the Catholic faith, and played on the prison softball team. His skills as a second baseman even got his name in the sports section of the Nevada State Journal. Oral arguments were heard on July 10th, and the Nevada State Supreme Court affirmed the judgment. Execution was scheduled for September 29, 1944. The State Board of Pardons and Paroles refused to commute his sentence, and the governor declined to intervene. A last-minute writ only postponed his execution by a few hours. At that time, the warden read the death warrant to him. Lovelace's last request was for roses to be sent to his grandmother. At 6:24 p.m., he was led from his cell and walked his last 13 steps. At 6:27 p.m., sodium cyanide pellets were dropped into a pot of sulfuric acid. By 6:29 p.m., he was pronounced dead. Although it was believed by many that he would be buried in the prison cemetery, Floyd Lovelace's body was transported back to Indiana, where he was buried next to his mother in Fairhaven Cemetery in Mulberry, Clinton County. His father and brother were buried elsewhere. At the time, US 40 connected with the Victory Highway near the Wendover Cutoff, not far from the Great Salt Lake Desert. Nevadans called it what it had always been to them, Victory Highway, while others called Highway 40, or US 40, which was constructed after the Victory Highway was built. Soon it would be neither of them, as Interstate 80 was constructed in their place. In the decades after World War II, views about youth offenders began to shift. For many years, courts treated teens close to adulthood, 16 and 17-year-olds, as eligible for the harshest penalties, including death. But by the 1980s and 1990s, research in psychology began to show that teenagers' brains are still developing and that they are less mature and more capable of change than adults. Then came important legal decisions. In Thompson v. Oklahoma, 1988, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled it was unconstitutional to execute those who were 15 or younger at the time of their crimes. In Stanford v. Kentucky, 1989, the Supreme Court still allowed executions for 16 and 17-year-olds, but this decision also fueled debate about juvenile punishment. These cases showed a slow move toward questioning the idea of executing young people at all. In 2005, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that it is unconstitutional to execute anyone for crimes committed under the age of 18. The court said that because juveniles are less mature, more influenced by others, and more capable of change, executing them violated the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. This decision didn't just stop future juvenile executions, it overturned prior death sentences and set a clear legal line. No death penalty at all for crimes committed under age 18. After Roper, states continued adjusting laws about how young offenders are treated. Many states later changed sentencing laws so juveniles can't get life without parole and must be given a chance at release after a certain number of years. Legal systems expanded their focus on rehabilitation and proper juvenile court procedures. The execution of teenagers like Lovelace and unfair cases like Stinney's helped inspire questions that led to these changes. Today, the system generally recognizes that children and teenagers deserve different treatment under the law, reflecting their capacity for growth and rehabilitation. What once seemed normal, executing a 17-year-old, now stands as a stark reminder of how our ideas about fairness and youth responsibility have evolved. Modern law recognizes that children are not adults, and that matters in how we punish and how we hope they can grow.